Good evening. And welcome to my full bush. Ideally, this entire performance would take place within my boisterous and untamed man bush. I would that I could invite you all there, and together we could commune in the safety of its cushiony and fragrant glory. But alas, that arena only seats one, and that seat is permanently reserved for my beautiful and talented bride, Megan Mullally. I concur. Which brings us to my first point, my main point of the evening. It's time to talk about the love rug. Now, if you've brought children with you, this would be a good time to cover their ears. And also, what the fuck is wrong with you? You think because I'm in the Lego movie, I'm not going to talk about eating ass? And other favorite adult comedy themes? It's called Full Bush. I'm sorry I snapped at you. I just get really riled up when I talk about this topic, which I do with great regularity to my friends. And they always say, well, you know, Nick, you got to trim the hedges to make the house look bigger. And I want to call bullshit on that. Right here, right now, tonight, I want to call bullshit on that kind of thinking. Especially for our young people who are given all this pressure that you need to worry about the size and shape and appearance of your love tackle. It caused me no end of distress when I was finding my way on the path of amour. As a young man, all of this social messaging and pressures, well, you better have a sure. You better know what to do, and how could you? And we all have much different equipment. Everyone is unique as a snowflake or a Republican. Either way, we all have love bits. And they're all unique. And I just wish somebody had told me when I was that age, it doesn't matter what they look like. Let's just say hypothetically that you have an abnormally squat penis. It's short, it's wide, it's terrifyingly wide. It's like a can of nuts. Hypothetically, you're going to take a lot of umbrage in the locker room. But if someone would just say, you know what, it doesn't matter. Talk to your partner. You both have human bodies. There are a lot of ways to make each other squirt. We still probably haven't figured out all the ways. Find a key corner of your coffee can and work on some rubbing and some gyrating techniques. One of those. Doesn't matter what kind of danglers you have or not. Just talk to each other, like, hey, do you like this? Let's have fun. I want to make you feel good. Figure it out. You're friends. You're trying to give each other pleasure. Girls, mainly, for me, it was mostly girls, would say to me, shh, don't talk. You'll ruin it. I'm like, all right. I'll just keep fumbling around. I was just gonna say, if you could show me which one is the clitoris, I read, but no, that's. Yeah? You like that? I think I'm gonna get a cramp, but. Help each other. Give guidance. Navigate. Sorry, that's a total digression. We were talking about the bush. We've come to this place where you all, I'm sure, have heard of people who trim this beautiful region into bullshit topiary shapes, bunnies and hearts and whatnot. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There are fools who actually, I'm told, shave this area of the body with a sharpened razor. What? Why would you do that? Honey, I purchased you a house. I've torn all the siding off. I hope you like it. Had some beautiful trees. I cut those down. It's just fucking dirt. Enjoy. But that's nothing. I'm sure you've heard of, or perhaps even indulged in, what is known as waxing. If you're not familiar, let me tell you what waxing entails. Waxing is when sick fucks pay torture experts exorbitant amounts of money to lay gauze on the Fertile Crescent, pour hot boiling wax onto the gauze so that when it cools, it grips the hairs on your tender baby-like pudenda and rips those hairs, follicle and all, from the softest niblets on your body. What the fuck have we become? And that's still not the end of it. I've heard of criminals who vandalize this region by shaving slogans across it. Make America great again. Fly that W. But the one that makes me so mad, the one that really fuels my ire, is the word heaven with an arrow pointing downward. Now, I don't know if you go to church or where you come down on all that kind of stuff, but I think that is really offensive to the genitalia. Let me back up, I'm sorry. Heaven, if you're not familiar, all right. A couple thousand years ago, this collection of stories came out. They're like a Lord of the Rings thing, but they're longer, if you can imagine. And they're totally good parts, but they're very long. It's like when you're reading the Silmarillion and you're like, man, this is not the fucking Hobbit anymore. Jesus, come, somebody kill a Balrog. But there are really cool parts. There's magic stuff. There's like supernatural, things happen, and there's like incantations, and you're supposed to read it all in a row and like follow the incantations. And if you do it right, ostensibly, in the context of the stories, you get to go to this location called heaven. And it's supernatural. It's somewhere up from here. So you can't get there like with a ladder or by jumping. You have to say the words in the book. And so if you do that and you get there, the thing about heaven is it's super fucking chill. White and clean and sanitary, but beautiful. Some interpretations have everything being made of clouds, which again, like if a couch is made of clouds, that's what, fog? And so how do you sit on fog? The reviews are mixed on these stories. Also, your dead relatives are there, we're told. And is that awesome? I can think of one, but like... Anyway, what I'm driving toward is none of these are characteristics that I want in any way associated with my balls. The region of the body housing the beef pistol and Venus's honey pot. The three amigos and the meat clutch. You have your choice of Mjolnir or Glamdring. And the giggle tube. That region does not want to be nice. On the contrary, it wants to be fucking nasty. When you drop trow in front of your prospective lover, they want to encounter a musk so substantial that they can see tendrils of scent snaking across the room towards them. They want to comprehend a stank so funky that they can taste it as they stagger to a seated position, stricken with desire. That's what this is for. You want to maintain it just this side of cultivating fungus. This is your full bush freak flag flying above the sexy niblets by which we're all made. You don't want to diminish it. You don't want to trim it. You want to nourish it. You want to flaunt that shit. You want to peacock it. You want to lead with it. The rest of your body is just bait. Mother Nature has given you this bait to attract the eye, and people follow the spiral into the dream catcher. In design circles, it's called your focal point. It's Mother Nature's billboard. It's her main advertising space, and it doesn't want to say, I'm handy with an epilady, or I aspire to sing in a boy band. It wants to simply read, ready to fuck. Thank you. We have to have stories, otherwise we'll go insane, and that's where all of this comes from. We're like, I don't know, why are we here? Where do we go when we leave? We don't know, we can never know. So let's make up cool stories, and we're like, oh, good. Now I can go back to my Nintendo. Because somebody answered those questions. So the thing I love about these stories, okay, back to the ones I was talking about, they're split in two. There's like a part one and part two, and well into part two, this protagonist shows up that people really took to this character. And they were like, oh my God, we love these. His name is Jesus. He's this like hero prince guy, Jesus, and he shows up, and his thing is that he has this superpower where he treats everybody like they're the same. It's this, which is crazy, right? Like he's like hooker, moneylender, Puerto Rican, like you all get paper towels. Like I make no distinction. You're all, and people really noticed this in the stories. They're like, check this guy out. He's like cool to everybody. What the fuck? Who thought that up? What if we tried it? And they're like, no, come on, moneylenders? I don't think so. But some people do. They're like, well, we can at least try. And his full name is Jesus Christ, and they say like, let's lead a Christ-like existence. And you know, why not? I mean, why not at least aspire to kindness? It's hard not to be selfish at every turn, but like if you just stay cognizant and you're kind once a month, that's 12 times better a year than you might have done, and that's cool. And you might see, one thing I love about these kind of stories is everyone can interpret them uniquely for themselves. So a great example is if you ever watch professional athletes, some of them dig Jesus, and you'll know if they do, because when they do something cool, often they've made a deal with Jesus where they're like, hey man, if I hit a triple today, I will demonstrably send you my thanks in front of everybody. And so they do, like if they hit a triple and they slide in and they're like, fuck yeah, They take off their gloves, and then they'll tap out a Morse code message on their chest, and then they do punctuation, send. Watch for it. Now that I've pointed it out, you'll start to see it. And it's pretty cool. I mean, that's just one example, but people are doing this in every walk of life, and I find it inspiring. Something you may or may not know about me is that I love to read and write, which sounds like a simple thing to say. Like, I also dig breathing. But it's a huge part of my life. I love doing this. I love writing books. I love reading books. I love consuming the language and regurgitating it in a foul way for your pleasure. And part of that is I love vocabulary words. I love to learn new words. They're so fun to use. It's so fun to say something like coitus instead of fucking. Fucking's fun too, but you get twice the pleasure. One word that I love is the word eschew, E-S-C-H-E-W. I love that word, and not only because it contains the word chew, which is pretty charismatic. To eschew something means to avoid it because you think it's not right, you think it's improper. So things you might catch me eschewing would include Fox News. Like anything that would make you say, fuck that. I eschew dog shit. Sorry, that's redundant. See, I'm working on my creativity. Something I love to eschew, light beer. Which is also a great example of an oxymoron. We take delicious beer and take all the good shit out of it. So you have all like the pleasure of drinking sudsy fermented juice with no booze. Fuck you. This one might surprise you. I eschew performance-enhancing drugs. It's all natural. They call me the Bo Jackson of humorists. It's the best laugh that joke's ever gotten. Thank you, old people. But the reason I'm telling you about the word eschew is this. I love to eschew. It's part of my life's mission as a Full Bush club member, is that I try to eschew consumerism. Consumerism is the opposite of Full Bush. We have so much messaging in our lives and in our world, and we'll probably never escape it. The companies will always be buying whatever tiny inch of real estate they can. I mean, imagine someday you'll be pumping gas, and there'll be a tiny television on the fucking gas pump. What do you have, like 3 minutes? Like, hey, since you're standing there leaning against your car, let me try and sell you another fucking credit card. I want to stand here and huff this gas and like lean against the car and fucking feel good. God damn it. So I'm always trying to stay aware of all the messaging, trying to turn me into a sheep. I don't want to be a sheep. And so something that I kind of learned by accident, because I grew up in a family that makes things, is so I make things as different parts of my jobs. And I learned that when I'm making things with my hands, I can't pay attention to messaging generally. And so that's the best way that I have to eschew consumerism, is making things with my hands. I love to make things out of wood. I have a wood shop in Los Angeles where I get to do that. I love to make food. Food is a classic, and people don't think about it. But let me just tell you a couple things about food you might not realize. First of all, if you do it right, when you're done, you get to fucking eat it. Think about it. Of all the things you can make, food is the only one that you get a treat at the end. It's genius. Also, if you make food right, people will come around. And you can get those people to do shit for you. There are members of my family that are exploiting the shit out of that one. I love to make music. That is something that is a wonderful, healthy, medicinal distraction. My wife loves to make music. We love to listen to music. It's beautiful. I love to make orgasms in my wife's body. Mostly with this guy right here. That's the workhorse in our house. My left hand has been referred to as John Henry. He beat the steam drill. But I finish her off with this guy right here. You can probably kind of make out the finesse in old righty. And he spends most of his day in a glove of supple kid leather to keep it soft, just the way she likes it. A shout out to John Steinbeck for that last joke. Making things is a great part of the full bush lifestyle. You know, it's looking at what you have to offer. And everybody can make something. People say to me, oh, I can't make anything. That means you've given up. Making things is a great way to say I love you. If you're not the kind of person that likes to say things emotionally, make things for people. It could be your friends and family, your clients, could be strangers, could be for yourself. When you make things for people and say I love you, it's a great way to use whatever you've been given to cause affection to flower. And that's a great way not to destroy shit and take away the middle class's money with your shitty tax bill. Fuck yeah. Whiskey, you were sent from heaven above. Ben Franklin said that beer is proof of God's love, but too much of either will earn me a shove from my wife, whom I'd like to stay the husband of. I love beer and whiskey, perhaps a bit too much. Given the chance, I'd fall off a bar stool daily to keep me out of the pub and also out of Dutch. I make things like this soprano ukulele. Everywhere I go, people staring at a phone, sitting in a crowded room completely alone. It gives me more willies than the Twilight Zone. Our brains are hooked on that shit like a dog on a bone. Put down your gadget and look me in the eye, so our interaction can proceed more gaily. Silence your tablet and ejaculate a sigh to the sweetly strumming sounds of ukulele. Ukulele, 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 ukulele. The Trumps and decent people don't see eye to eye. Our knuckles are all bloody, but you should see the other guy. Syria is lit up like the 4th of July. Seems a mighty long way to the sweet by and by. Why can't we all get along for a minute? Everybody's all Palestinian or Israeli. If we'll just head down to the shop and enjoy the tools in it, we can build a pacifying ukulele. Get back to work, stop checking your feed. What's in there's what you want, but there's nothing you need. Real love with real people, that's the way to breed. Less clicking, more licking, and you will succeed. All the screens in the world just won't let me be Life is way too Instagrammy and emaily. So I went to my shop, milled some fine mahogany, and I built this motherfucking ukulele. Ukulele, ukulele, ukulele. Thank you. I just want to take a second to point out I did actually make this ukulele because somebody always asks me after the show, hey, did you really make that ukulele that you played in the show? That's how they talk in Cleveland. Nice people, talk slow. And I say yes, but clearly you weren't listening to the lyrics, which state pretty unequivocally that I built this motherfucking ukulele. Now, those of you in the first couple rows, I don't have to convince. I can see the contempt on your faces because you're close enough to make out the 32nd inch gap between the neck and the shoulder. Yes, I know. Because when I was gluing it up, the glue seized before I could get it all the way home. This is a very delicate, thin vessel, so you can't really muscle it like a three-legged stool. So please give me a fucking break. First couple rows. It's my first try. It sounded like a ukulele. God. Your tolerances are stringent. I'm 47 years old, and I've been blessed with a healthy, happy relationship for sneaking up on 18 years, which is amazing and wonderful. And also, P.S., it's not fucking Disneyland. Like, we're two people living together. Any two people maintaining a close relationship, you're gonna like scream at each other at some point about who left the lid off the Tupperware. That's how people work. So, I mean, whether it's your mom and dad or your roommate or your sibling or your spouse, getting 10 years under your belt is astonishing. Now, a good friend of mine has not been so lucky. He got married around the same time, and his relationship ended recently. So he's doing his best, but he's at this weird middle-aged place where he has to start dating again. And it's tricky because when we were young, finding the loves of our lives, they didn't call it dating, they called it courting. We didn't have the internet, let alone smartphones and all that, so you had to actually just imagine you had to take your body to another place where other people had brought their bodies so that the bodies could assess one another, which is inconvenient, certainly. But it has its advantages, one of which is you can use all five senses when you're actually in the physical proximity of the people you're considering. So maybe they look and sound great, but they don't smell so friendly. Your phone can't tell you that. But he's being told that he needs to use modern technology. When we were young, you would just basically go to a barn raising or a hog killing. At a barn raising, that's hard work. So you just wait and see who's the last person standing, and you marry that son of a bitch. And at a hog killing, it doesn't take long for the ground to be covered in gore and effluvia, and everybody ends up slipping into somebody's arms, and that becomes your spouse. It was a much simpler time. Now they're telling him he's got to use these social dating apps. Now, I'm from Los Angeles, so I'm going to lay a little 411 on you. Apps is short for applications. That's just the beginning. What I'm going to throw down here, you can trust, is totally super one hundo fire emoji. My shit is tight AF. But the apps I'm talking about: Tinder for straight couples, Grindr for gay men. There's a new one called Attractor, which is for lonely farmers, I can only imagine. And he's trying it. And I have good friends that found romance. So it's not to say it can't be done. But my friend, who's old-fashioned, he's said that it feels cheap. He feels like he's shopping for shoes, and he needs to go places to meet people. So he's been looking for things to go to, among which he found in downtown LA a workshop called Bake Amazing Cookies. And I say, let me stop you right there, Richard. Of course you should go to Bake Amazing Cookies. That's the trick. It's gonna work out way better if they find you, because if you're out there on the make, you're trying too hard, it's never gonna work out. But if they find you, and the way to get them to find you is to trick yourself into forgetting you want them to find you, and the way to do that is to engage in something that you love so passionately that you forget. You're like, oh, fuck, the whole field of melons. What's that? Oh, yes, hi, I am single. Now, I have to be conclusive proof of this theory. I'm going to use this chair because I'm married so fucking far up. Okay, let's see. Remember where this hand is. That's how far up I'm married. And I still can't wrap my head around it, so let me set the scene for you just a little bit. Let me take you all the way back to the year 2000, when my wife Megan and I met doing a play in Los Angeles. Megan had just finished the first 2 seasons of the Will and Grace television program. You're goddamn right about that. Now, in the year 2000, television was created by companies called networks, and they would make packages of episodes they called seasons. Trust me, look it up. Each season generally consisted of 24 episodes. So she had finished the first 48 episodes of Will and Grace, or the equivalent of 8 seasons of Aziz's show. Right? It's a crazily different, quantifiable time. So across these first 2 seasons, Will and Grace they'd gone through the quickening of the Highlander, where like they had become the stag and run across the beach with Sean Connery, and the world was like, holy shit, you are the greatest. And so they had become the celebrated comedy legends we know them to be. Megan, in fact, was about to win her first Emmy a few months after we met. I was living beneath my friend's house in a dirt and stone space in exchange for turning it into a space that could be inhabited by a civilized human who you could then get to pay rent. The entire space was dirt with foundation walls. I could urinate flamboyantly and freely. Like I'd put on music to pee to. I had all my moves. And the next morning you could not discern that it had taken place. That was the only good thing about living there. So Megan and I were at very different places when it comes to personal hygiene, if nothing else, when we met. But my secret was I was also working for this theater company. They had bought a warehouse and were building a theater into this warehouse. So I was working for them as a carpenter. And the day that Megan and I met, the first day of rehearsal, I had been there working for 8 hours, swinging a hammer. So when we first encountered each other, I was covered in a patina of sweat and sawdust and satisfaction. I was wearing a tool belt. And so I can't, this is my best speculative guess. I can only imagine that whatever glow was coming off of my ursine features because I just built a stage had to somehow sway her. And so combining that knowledge and trying to justify it with the experience of seeing myself in a mirror, it's just really hard to reconcile. And so I said to my friend, of course you should go to fucking Bake Amazing Cookies, because guess who's not coming to Bake Amazing Cookies? Married people. It's gonna be single people, either out for fun, baking freaks, but probably people looking for romance. You're gonna be in some cool room that's going to be warm and thickly redolent of baking cookies. Even if you strike out and don't find romance, the worst case scenario is you'll have tricked yourself into baking delicious cookies. Again, it's all looking away from the fucking phone and looking into life and where nature is in life. That's look inside yourself, see what you can nourish and cause to fully bush. And maybe it's fruit, maybe it's vegetable, maybe it's weavable, maybe it's smokable. Whatever it is, someone might want to consume it. Or you just eat cookies. But if you do something that you're passionate about, chances are, even if you're not looking for a spouse, you know how that is. When you see somebody doing something they love and that's their thing, that's when they're the most charismatic. And you could just be watching a plumber nimbly replace the wax ring beneath your toilet, and there's just something, if he loves it, you'll find yourself thinking, that guy's all right. I don't know what it is, but I like him. That's all I'm saying. Do something you're passionate about and see if you don't end up getting kissed to boot. I'm not on Facebook. I don't want to look at Facebook. I want to look at your face. I want to look you in the eye and shake your hand and take your measure. I know I'm coming across as very old-fashioned, but in my day, clicking like on someone meant knocking your genitals against their genitals. I only need a few likes a week and I'm good to go. But I hear a lot about Facebook from my friends and my family, most of it complaining. And so I've written a song about your Facebook page. Here's your friend from high school, oh, he's getting a divorce. But here's a Buddhist quote about how he'll be okay. Your racist granny loves Mike Pence without remorse. And no, didn't know it was National Mustard Day. Here's a picture of a cat to be killed if you don't adopt it. Here's a cuddly lamb playing with a frog. Are you aware that Obama is in the Illuminati? Hey, look at this cute fucking dog. It's your Facebook page. Now just one more quick refresh of your Facebook page. Oh, Judy got to go to Marrakesh? But oh, how my friends are gonna scream when I post my snarky little meme. Fuck you, Judy. Click this link. You won't believe what happens next. And here's a selfie of me and my high score on Mario. OMG LMFAO. Can you believe this fucking dog? He makes that face just like Robert De Niro. I say we're all gonna die if we don't eat gluten-free. Oh look, your cousin Katie bought a pan. An invite to your mom and dad's church's corned beef dinner. Oh, Katie's already said she'll bring her fucking pan. On your Facebook page, where if someone dares offend, on your Facebook page, they'll feel the sting of your unfriend. Watching all my status likes increase while I sit here growing morbidly obese. Well, Jenny just changed her profile pic to her kindergarten photo. Clearly, she's going through a crisis. Can anyone recommend a dentist in the greater Pilsen area? Your Christian pal compares a rap group to ISIS. Endless thread about vaccines, a picture of a foot. Overly personal involvement in the death of a celebrity. Look at my baby, look at my face, look at this plate of food, but mostly look at this cute fucking dog. On your Facebook page, now I don't mean to sound rude, on your Facebook page, why a picture of your goddamn plate of food? Forgive me if there's anything I've missed. Now excuse me while I quietly slit my wrist. Thanks to your Facebook page. Thank you. Now, I'm not suggesting that we become Luddites, you know. Technology is amazing. There's a lot of really luxurious things that technology has brought to our lives. I recently received in the post a remote control vibrating butt plug from Osaka. It is named Hello Pine Cone. And I'll tell you what, I am over the moon about this thing. It has 12 programs, hills, fat burner, bumpy road is a lot of fun. But you know, technology has its time and place. Obviously, the place for that butt plug is in the bedroom or on the occasional cross-country train trip. But technology can worry me sometimes, especially my phone. I can begin to feel infatuated with my phone, where I feel like I'm shirking my responsibilities because I'm in love with my phone. So I hide. You know, my mom is like, Nick, the barn's on fire. And I'm like, she can go to hell. Because I'm scrolling through nothing. And there's something so delicious about it, and that scares me. I don't like it because, you know, you want to put the barn fire out. We know this. But that's why we call it a cautionary tale. It scares me, it frightens me, the way technology gets its tentacles into me. And so I pay heed to technology, you know. We have so much of it. I mean, it's inextricably linked into all of our lives. If you live completely off the grid in a cabin in the woods somewhere, and you run one electrical wire to your home, you're complicit. You're giving your agency to a company, and you're saying, I'm going to send you money, and I'm going to trust... I'm going to trust you guys to send me electricity. And you're not going to, like, fuck up the planet or anything, right? Like, it'll all be cool. We have this human nature where we can't keep track of it all, we can't comprehend it all. And so I think all of you and all of us, we're smart, we're sensitive, we read, we comprehend, we do our best to learn, but we hand over a certain amount of trust when it comes to technology. And the problem is, all the technology is made by us. It's made by men and women, of course, but we're talking about fallibility, so let's stay with the men. It's made by us dumb fucks. And so we're gonna fuck it up. We're gonna run out of whatever, coal, oil, water, air, trees. We have islands of plastic in the ocean, and we're like, well, as long as they don't bump up against New England, I don't see what the problem is. And so I try to remain vigilant about technology for that reason, because it is going to come to a screeching halt at some point. And when it does, I just want to be ready. I want to be ready when suddenly we have 0 bars of service forever. And so I always carry a multi-tool on my person. That's just the beginning. I run this wood shop in LA where we make implements of survival. You know what we're gonna need to get around when we run out of fuels? Boats, motherfucker. All you need for that shit is wind and water. I make boats. I make shovels. I make axes. I make primitive sex swings. We will survive. The human race will live on. It's an important part of my own thing. I come from this great farm family southwest of Joliet, and it's right on. And they're amazing. They are all salt of the earth public servants, and it's very important to me to feel like part of the family. Somehow I attach that to remaining ready to fully go live in the bush at any given moment. And I don't stop with the implements of survival. I've memorized the plans to a wooden water wheel that can be powered by any stream or freshet, that'll drive a large axle, that'll drive a huge leather belt, that'll power a barn full of woodworking and metalworking machines, with which I will build a new civilization over which I will rule. In whatever way my wife would prefer. She's amazing at picking shit out. I'm amazing at carrying luggage. We are a happy marriage. And I come from this family. They're expert gardeners and fishermen and women. So I'm confident that we will provide ourselves with provender and comestibles. But I'm not taking any chances. I have a very good friend who you may have seen in Outdoor Life magazine, who's an expert at gleaning red meat from the wilderness. His name is Chris Pratt. He's a well-known hunter. He's amazing at hunting for red meat with a firearm, but also with a bow and arrow, a snare. And you may not have picked this up from the magazine, but he is so goddamn cute that we can put him in a boat and the fish will just jump in, hoping to get a kiss. Or perhaps I'm just projecting that, actually. He's a dreamboat. But we have it all planned out. When the shit goes down, no matter where we are on the planet, we're going to navigate by the constellations to a predetermined location in the Pacific Northwest. If there are any Freemasons in the house, it's location 3. If you have tool skills, if you have gumption, if you have grit, please join us. We will need you. We will need your hands. Also, if you possess a body type that has been described as husky or beefy or just plain thick, your participation will also be deeply treasured. Because we will eat you. Shit is going to be rough after the Great Purge. I'm sorry in advance. We'll try and donate you to a good cause. All of these sort of life philosophies that I consider within my full bush drawer are really healthy. They're part of my personal health, and so it helps me to talk about them. For example, I've had really good luck in my career, and I've come to a place where it's been suggested to me that I become an asshole with a yacht. They're like, come on down to the marina, buy a yacht, smoke cigars, be an asshole with us. It's the kind of guys that are the antagonists in hip-hop videos. And I was like, no, don't you understand? You're a bad guy. Like, I don't want to be a bad guy. I want to keep creating stuff. And so that's one of the reasons I keep my wood shop going. And there's an element of, here's what I have to avoid, is too much planning or worrying. Because if I sit down and try to strategize or plan things, you start to think about all the ways things could go wrong, and then you get scared, and you're like, well, let's just stay in bed and for the rest of our lives, and then we'll die soon. That is fun for a couple days, but then you're like, oh no, this is depressing. We have to go outside. And so I liken it to a bull in a china shop. But there's something about it that I really enjoy. If you spend your days trying to find your ass with both hands, every once in a while, an errant finger or thumb is bound to slip into an unexpected nook or cranny, and you end up with a home run when you didn't even realize you were playing baseball. It served me very well. It's not clean, it's not messy, but neither is life. It's the way I have found to navigate nature that has done very good for me, and it ended up leading me on the weird circuitous path to this show, Parks and Recreation, and the role of Ron Swanson. So you could understand that I'd be okay with the route. That was such an incredibly good piece of fortune, that job, in so many ways. It showered me with so much bounty in all walks of life. It brought me so much benevolent gifting over and over. Even now, it's still happening. Of course, I'm incredibly grateful for it. I have such wonderful support from my fans and my audience and the world. I was part of this group that made art that made people feel good and still does. And it's a wonderful thing about this business is when you can deliver that kind of medicine. But there's a bit of a conundrum that I find myself in that I want to talk to you about. We stopped shooting that show 4 years ago, which means they stopped paying me money to work on it 4 years ago. Now, my wife and I have grown quite accustomed to some very fancy lotions. That's a lie. I have grown very accustomed to some very fancy lotions. I'm in trouble, you guys. I'm hooked on this shit, and it is expensive. What I do mainly to make money is work as a character actor. So for 4 years, I've needed to get more jobs playing more characters so I can get the money, so I can get my lotions. That's my conundrum. As a character actor, one thing I really enjoy is looking different for every character. And the character you might know me best from had a magnificent mustache, I will immodestly say. And he had a very funny pompadour-like hairdo that we called the full douche. That was what that character looked like, and he had a certain demeanor. So when I play other characters, I can't look like that. And so, despite all the incredible life gifts that I got from that show, the one thing that Ron Swanson cost me is my mustache. It's pretty heavy. But a price that I will gladly pay. I would also offer a lip and an earlobe and 3 fingers for my left hand. Like I'll happily trade my mustache for 7 years of that job. But here's the thing. Out of all the incredible support I get from my fans, there's this one particular color that I want to talk about. Now, something you should understand about actors is we have this kind of superpower that anything you say to us, we can understand is a compliment. It's a very nice way to live. I highly recommend it. But there's this one stripe of compliment that I want to talk about for a second. It happens once in a while, and it sounds like this. This is a quote from Twitter. I saw Nick Offerman without his mustache. I vomited and died. I just want to walk you through that real quick. First of all, thank you for the compliment. But let's look at this supposition that you're making. You looked at a thing, and it made you feel, you know, we've all puked. It made you feel in that fucking horrible way of like, oh my God, the worst. And then you puked from looking at something. And then, as if that wasn't bad enough, then you died. The worst possible thing happened, you died. And the thing that you looked at that made you have the worst possible experience, followed by an even worse experience, was my fucking face. So maybe just tone down the compliment slightly. Please and thank you. I understand you've come to love another man. He's studly and heroic, so I completely understand. But now your expectations are a little high, I fear. 'Cause if I had to live like him, I'd be dead within a year. So he can't eat a big-ass steak for every single meal, 'cause his colon is fictitious, while mine is all too real. And his scotch intake, well, it would be my liver's doom. 'Cause mine is controlled by nature, and his by the whims of the writer's room. I'm not Ron Swanson. Hear me shout it from sea to sea, from Texas to Wisconsin. He only lives in your goddamn TV. I'm not Don Draper or Gomer Pyle, and I'm certainly not the Fonz. Please understand, these are my own mortal hands, not Ron's. While eggs and bacon start Ron's every day, I require the occasional cantaloupe to keep the heart attacks at bay. And public libraries are nothing but heroic to me. They're not the buttholes of Satan that Ron believed them to be. Duke Silver could fill your ear holes, ladies, with his salty jazz. But my own horn has none of the panty-dropping magic that Duke Silver has. The death of Lil Sebastian was just the second time Ron ever cried. But I was blubbering for a month after Inside Out when Bing Bong died. 'Cause I'm not Ron Swanson. My heart, my soul, my bones, my ass, and my Johnson. They're mine and mine alone. I'm not Liz Lemon or the cast of Friends. I'm not even Mr. T. Oh, I hate to disappoint you, but I'm just me. I'm not saying we don't have some things in common. We both like paddling a canoe and sucking down the spirits of life. Me and Ron like working with both wood and women. And we both get wood for women who look like my wife. Still, I'm not Ron Swanson. I'm the Charlie Brown to his Charlie Bronson. I'll try not to let you down, but when this song is over, if I look up to discover that you're gone, well, I guess that I'll understand. I can't be what no man can. I'm just Nick Offerman, and I'm not Ron. Thank you. More than a touch of catharsis in that song. Really grateful I get to do this for a job, and the fans, mainly of Parks and Recreation and or woodworking that come out. I love getting to countenance my people, and man, I know I lived here and I grew up outside of here, but Chicago, you kicked every city's ass fulsomely. I thank you. I thank you for showing me your love, and I love you back. And I don't know if you've caught the news recently. If you haven't, don't. It's fucked. And so I chose not to continue the endless stream of terrifying garbage coming to us in the news, and instead try and have some optimism and some love and some neighborliness in the show. And so, because the thing is, through all my channels every day, people are inviting me from all walks of life. They invite me to come and punch them in the face. And I've learned in my life that that's not the best way to go about things. And so I hope you'll join me in endeavoring, whenever we can, to hug before punch. That's my new motto. Have a beautiful night, and thank you for coming. You tell me to lay off the cheese curds, that my arteries are bound to fail. Well, I'd rather die young with steak on my plate than be an old fucker gnawing on kale. Now others might advocate temperance and restraint in life's celebration, but it's often the clowns supposed to buy the next round who suddenly preach in moderation. Live full, sing loud, and drink deep. For tomorrow, my friend, in the ground you will sleep, imbibing life's pleasures. But son, here's the trick: do it without being a dick. Eggs with bacon, chicks with dicks, bong hits or Buddha, whatever your kicks. Find it and love it, just one little rule: treat people kindly, don't be a fucking tool. Some folks like things steady and certain. I'd prefer a sharp stick in the eye. It don't matter if you win the damn race, boy or girl. Just get off your ass and try. So live full, sing loud, and drink deep. Better dead coyote than mall shopping sheep. Live to the fullest, yes, turn your heart loose. Just do it without being a douche. Bag, live large, but don't be a douche. Yes, just try not to be a fucking douche.